myself. My name is Kara Lanahan, and I am a landscape architect with Montgomery Parks. I am the project manager for the park renovation, and I'll be the main speaker this evening. With me tonight are representatives from all of our divisions, which you can see listed here. And they're here to answer your questions that you may have and support the meeting. We're really excited to share our preliminary ideas with you, and we encourage you to share your thoughts and questions tonight through the chat and also through the online survey, and I'll share with you at the end how you can access the survey. This evening, we will review the following items with you. We'll start with an overview of the Long Branch Parks Initiative, which supported the designs we'll present for your feedback tonight. We'll look at the existing conditions of the park, what it looks like now and what's there. We'll talk about the park program for the proposed designs. So this would be the types of amenities that we're proposing, the different elements that you would see in the park. Then we'll talk about the preliminary design concepts. We have two ideas to share with you. That would be the layout and the organization of the amenities, the different things that would be in the park. And finally, we'll be sure to have time for your questions and feedback. So please do put in your questions and comments as we go along, and we'll talk at the end. Montgomery Parks conducted community outreach in 2022 in the Long Branch area to plan for the future of parks in this region and to ask the community what types of spaces they would like to see in their parks. And the result of this outreach was a 2024 report, which you can access online. And that provided a framework for renovating these parks, including New Hampshire Estates, which we're going to discuss this evening. So during this extensive outreach, areas of improvement were identified for this particular park. And those include safety, reducing trash accumulation in the park and making sure the trash is picked up, improving the existing amenities, and just overall general upgrades to the park. The outreach also got more specific, asking what types of amenities the community needs and would like to see in this park in particular. And some of the top amenities that we heard from the community that they wanted to see included new playgrounds, picnic shelter with grills, soccer opportunities, a community lawn, natural areas with a walking path, as well as a plaza or place that the community can gather in the public space. So now that we've talked about the program of the designs we'll look at later, the next several slides are about the park itself, the existing conditions, which you may be very familiar with, but if not, we can orient you to the park. So on this slide on the left, we have a plan of the current park. There is a soccer field, there is a plaza, playgrounds, as well as a forested area, so with canopy trees and a lot of shade that we'll be keeping all of those trees on site. And then to the right here, we have an aerial photo from 2025. And this is showing all of those same existing elements. And then just to point out a couple of things to you, this dashed green line is the existing fence. Here's New Hampshire Estates Elementary, which perhaps your children go there or some of your neighbors. And then another thing to point out on the photo is this area with the trees to the bottom of the park has a stream and is a naturalistic area. So that's a nice area that we want to preserve, and we're not proposing any kind of construction within that area. Everything we're looking at would be to the north of that. So there are two ways to enter the park. In these photos, we can see the entrance from University Boulevard through the existing plaza. And here I've got an arrow pointing out where the new purple line is going in. I'm sure you're very familiar with all the construction happening. So sometime soon you'll be able to get off the purple line and come into the new park. Another reason I included these couple of photos is to show that the existing design has some interesting colors, textures, some interesting patterns in these planters. But what we'd like to do in the new design is to really ask you, the community, how could we authentically show like the colors and textures that you're interested in? How could we make the design respond to the community and the culture of your neighborhood? So we're hoping to do that. We have some ideas that we'd like to get your opinion on. And then the other entrance way to get into the park is from Piney Branch Road. And this one is uphill through a series of canopy trees, which you can see in this picture on the top. The other thing on this side is there is a bus stop with the ride-on bus stopping there, so that's another way to arrive at the park. And then the bottom photo shows as you continue to walk up that hill into the park, you get to sort of the center of the park, and you can see the school beyond and their playground, and then that's that fence that we were looking at in the photo in the plan earlier. And then finally, one more photo of the existing park. You can see the playground here. You might be familiar with it. You might take your kids there. Excuse me, we are proposing to completely renovate this playground and bring it up to the modern standards that you see in some of our other parks. But we'd still like to know, are there things that you like about the current playground? What would you want to change? And what kinds of play activities are you interested in? And we do have specific questions in our survey at the end. So please go ahead, and if you have thoughts on the playground, take that survey and share that with us. Okay, so now that we're oriented to the background of this project and the existing conditions, let's move into the renovation project itself. Our goal with this renovation is to provide updated amenities that reflect the needs of you, the community. So based on that preliminary community engagement we talked about, we're including tonight in our two designs several things. We're looking at new playgrounds, sports amenities, community garden, bioretention areas. And these would be typically planted areas that would capture stormwater and treat that stormwater on site. And then we're also thinking about potential public art. And I think this is where the culture and the identity of the community could really be expressed. So coming up, we have two great design concepts that I hope to hear from you. Which one do you prefer? What are your thoughts? What's working? What could be better? So we're going to share those with you next. And there's several components that are involved in determining the final program and the design. There's the feedback from all of you, which is so critical. And then internally at Parks, we have the operations, maintenance, and budget, as well as just considering the broader goals of the park system. So all of that information together and the information we get from you tonight will feed into the final design. And so here we have our first concept, our first idea. Again, we have two ideas to share with you, and we're hoping to hear which one do you prefer. And we're calling the first concept soccer field. So I just first want to orient you to how to read these plans. It's helpful if you look at the legend and you can see these icons, these images of different activities, and then in English and Spanish, the title. And then if you jump over here, you can see the existing soccer field, for example, has the soccer ball. So in this concept, we're proposing to have a refreshed soccer field. So this would be the existing soccer field, which is about the size of a U12 field. It has natural grass. And so we would be kind of restoring that field and making it new again for all of you. Then we're also proposing many new elements. So just starting over here near University, we're adding a plaza area. So this would be a paved area where people could gather. Maybe you have community events. There'd also be some shade and seating. We're also showing a pergola, and that's a shade structure. It's not totally enclosed, but you can think of it as sort of a garden structure that provides shade and seating and is a nice visual element as well. And then moving along this curving path, we have in purple the community garden. And we keep going. We have two playgrounds, one for 2 to 5 years old, one for 5 to 12. And it's important to note that in this concept, we have those two playgrounds separated. So that's how they're laid out in this concept. And then if we keep going, we get to this blue rectangle with another soccer ball, and this is a proposed smaller or compact sports court. So this is a place that could also host soccer. It would have a fence around it, it would be paved and have lighting. And so the lighting extends the time of play that would be possible, but it is a compact space to play. And then if we just keep going down this curving path, we walk through all the canopy trees and we arrive back at Piney Branch Road. So both of the concepts will have that important connection from Piney Branch through to University Boulevard. Okay, so in our second concept, our second design option, we're calling this soccer court. And the idea here was to say we understand soccer is important, but perhaps we could move it to a soccer court. So in this idea, the soccer happens in a large soccer court. So again, this would be a paved area with lighting and fencing to play soccer games. And when we do that and put the soccer in this area, we're able to take this lawn area where the soccer field was and say that this could be an open community lawn. So in concept two, we have the soccer court, which is a larger soccer court. And then we have an open, flexible lawn for picnics, gathering, that type of thing. And as well in this option, we have a plaza, a paved area, which is this orange area here with the pergola. One difference in concept two, we have the playgrounds for different ages, but in this case, they're next to each other. So we do want to hear from you, which do you prefer, the playgrounds next to each other or separated in terms of the age groups? And rather than the winding path that we had in concept one, this has a bit of a more straight path that we're calling the promenade. And so this is a pathway that's paved. It has trees on either side and lots of benches, so shaded seating. And this aligns on the community garden. So we have a community garden in this option as well. And then in between the garden and the soccer court, we have a plaza area with trees and benches. So another place to sit and gather. And finally, as we keep going towards Piney Branch, in this particular option, the blue rectangle is also a paved area, but it would have a picnic shelter with grills and it would have outdoor fitness equipment. So a place that you could reserve for a family picnic or something like that, but also a place to work out. And so as you can see in comparing these options, they both have many of the same amenities. I think the main difference would be, do you prefer soccer on the natural turf or soccer on the paved court? And we do have some photos of that coming up to give you a visual. And then another difference is, of course, whether you want to have the soccer field that is grass or the lawn. Okay, so now that we've looked at the two design concepts, and we will have time to compare them side by side later, because I know that's a lot to take in, but we'd also like to give you some photos so you can help to visualize what could this look like in the park. So to start, we have this page about soccer. On the top row, we have some of our soccer courts and our other nearby parks. Um, so this again would be a paved area for soccer or potentially other sports. It would have a fence to contain the ball. And in this case, we would have lighting. The lighting could again extend the time of play. Um, Another thing to consider is that with the paved court, there's not as much downtime in terms of maintenance of the grass, for example, or if it rains and sometimes the field needs to be closed to protect the grass. However, a lot of folks do love the natural grass, so we're giving that as an option as well. On the bottom, we see three pictures of other parks where we have soccer fields. And I think it's important to just give a sense of expectations of what could the field look like, how will it be maintained? And of course, with natural grass, when it gets a lot of play, there is going to be some wear of the grass. So we will have to take the time to maintain that and occasionally close the field just to repair the grass. So another thing, continuing on the nature theme, the natural turf, we heard that you wanted access to nature through green spaces. So there's a lot of different ways to do that, and we'd like to hear from you. What's important? What would you like to see? So here are some ideas that we have about native plants in this photo at the top left. With the bioretention areas, they could sometimes be near the playground, so there would be opportunities for native plants to be within that area. One idea we're considering that could be interesting would be to use boulders or stones, stepping stones to create pathways and like climbing opportunities for children. This photo shows another idea about natural materials. We could potentially use logs or something interesting as the seating. And then finally, these last two photos relate more to concept two. So this photo in the middle is about the promenade idea. So that's what this pathway could look like with the trees and the benches. And then on the right, we have a picture of another park in our system with an open lawn. So again, that could give you a visual of what this lawn area could look like. And you're selecting between something like that and then, or the soccer field. As I mentioned, we really would like to renovate this park to reflect the culture of the neighborhood, to find fun ways to make it special for you and authentic to your culture and identity. So here we've got some ideas about maybe how we could do that. I put in a photo that you might be familiar with. This is a mural in the Long Branch area. And so while we won't have a vertical wall mural in this project, I think it's a nice way to think of ideas and to give inspiration. You know, maybe there's ways to have color, texture, show the identity of the neighborhood. So here's a few of our ideas that we're interested in. Again, this is in the survey, so you can tell us what you think. Some of the ideas include colorful play equipment, perhaps colors that are powerful and relevant to you. Maybe the playground or other elements could be themed. For example, this is a musical instrument play structure that is looks like flowers, could relate to the community garden. Or maybe you're interested in the idea of having an artistic treatment to the paving, to the horizontal surfaces. So, for example, this is a park in our system where we have an interesting pattern, we have some fun little furnishings. Another idea could be to have a mural on the paving that reflects on the culture, colors, and texture of the neighborhood. And finally, this is Flower Avenue Urban Park, which you're probably familiar with. And I think it's just a nice example that you could go see of how to incorporate color and texture right alongside the nature with the trees. So these are some of the things we're thinking of, but again, we want to hear from you what is interesting and what could be fun for you in the park. So this slide is about something very important. Shade and seating are vital in our parks, but how could we kind of incorporate colors that are interesting to you, or what type of how could we make it artistic and fun, I guess is the idea. So just a few ideas here. Maybe it could be some natural shapes like this flower um, shade structure in this playground. This one in the middle is a leaf. Or maybe you like something simple but with warm materials, so with natural wood. This is a recently completed shelter in our park system. And again, there's always fun ways to incorporate color, whether that's through the shade structures that we might have, through some interesting seating that could create spaces and be somewhat sculptural, or maybe just some fun shapes. So again, those are all just some ideas we're playing with, and we'd like to hear from you what would make sense in this park. Okay. And this is going to be my last slide with photos, but we wanted to show you again, the community garden would be in both options. And you might be wondering what would that look like? So we're showing here, this is Edgewood Community Garden in our system. It's got individual plots, but with nice materials framing the gardens. We are working with a local group called Cheer to see how we could make the food grown in this garden accessible. So that's something we're working on, but we've heard that food is an important thing that needs to be provided to the community. And so we'd love to do that in the park. And it could incorporate seating. There could be ways to teach kids and other people about growing food. So there's a lot of opportunities within the community garden. So I'd like to close out this presentation with an overview of our working timeline. So we're here in the light green in May. We're working on community engagement. We have this meeting tonight, which will be recorded and shared. But we've also been out in the community at the elementary school next door, and we have some other events coming up. If you know of any ways that we could connect with people, please let us know. But if you have not already, please go ahead and take the online survey. We're going to have a link to it at the end. It's open until the end of June. So continuing on the schedule, we'll do community engagement through the end of June, and then over the summer, we will take all of the information you've given us and put together a final preferred design, which we'll share with you. And then from there, we'll do detailed design and construction documents and permitting to get everything ready for construction. That will be towards the end of this year and into next year. And then we're looking at construction in 2028 to 2029. And it's always a moving target with a schedule, but we'll be sure to keep the website updated to keep you updated on our progress as we continue to move forward. So thank you so much for your time and attention. I know that that was a lot of information, but we appreciate you being here tonight. So now's the time to hear from you. If you have not already, please enter your questions and comments into the chat. Raise your hand and we will get to your questions. And then I'm going to keep up the two concepts for you to kind of compare and contrast while we field your questions. So please, we'd love to hear from you. And I'm going to let our leader, Andy, kind of moderate the question and answer session, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Kara. That was very informative. I really appreciate that information. I hope others do too. And as Kara mentioned, we are wide open for questions. If anyone has any questions, they can feel free to put them in the webinar chat. I am looking now and I don't see any quite yet.
I think, oh, here's one. Will the park be committing to planting 100% native plants?
Q&A box.
So, Andy, should I take that one?
Yeah, you can take that one.
Okay. We generally try to use native plants as much as possible. I don't know that we would commit to 100% because sometimes there's the right plant for the right spot, you know, in very tough urban conditions. Sometimes a non-native plant can work well, but definitely we lean towards doing as many native plants as possible.
Hey, Kara, this is Carl, our athletic field planner. I see one that's pertaining to the existing soccer field, so I'm going to take care of that one.
Great, thank you.
What is the usage rate of the existing soccer field, and what is the demand for a new one? So we don't currently permit that field because we stopped permitting that field when the Purple Line started their construction, and we knew that the construction would be interfering with that park at some degree during all the time. Now, if you look at the field, you can tell it's heavily used. We could do an IR camera study out there, but we know that a lot of the soccer fields down in that part of the county do have high demand for them. So if we kept with the soccer field, I'm assuming that the soccer field would be heavily used, and then of course show signs of being heavily used.
Thank you, Carl. And I see there's a note that natural grass is preferred for the soccer field, and a question about the lighting. And just to let folks know that our Montgomery Parks does commit is part of the county's climate program, and we do look at our energy usage and usage of lighting that is as energy efficient as it can be. And I see there's a note about, I guess, we're dealing with the pergolas about utilizing traditional architecture with good detail and workmanship and materials. And we will be, when the time comes, when we look at structures, we definitely want to balance aesthetics with functionality, long-term maintenance, and durability. So that's definitely something we'll keep in mind. Does anyone have any others to add?
I think we got one more from Johanna. Will there be an effort to increase the
There we
tree
go.
canopy cover for pedestrians in University Boulevard, or will design not reach that far?
So I can answer that. So
Okay.
University Boulevard's owned by the state highway, and that is under jurisdiction that is combined with the Purple Line. They do have a landscaping plan that's been approved by the state. And so our plantings will be focused on our property, which is outside the right of way. But we do expect there will be some level of plantings along University Boulevard and the green panel behind the curb line and the sidewalk. And then, of course, we will be focusing our attention in the areas beyond the parking lot and outside of the hardscape areas. And then with a grass soccer field, would there be lighting? No, we do not. We would not be able to light the grass soccer field. That's one of the reasons why the soccer court is one of the options that we thought might be useful. As Kara mentioned, not only would you have the year-round use and not have the weather delays or closures due to weather, but it could also be lit for evening play up to 11 o'clock, which we thought might be a good benefit that the community might enjoy.
Do we want to say a little more about, there's another question about will the grass soccer field have lighting, about sort of the level of use and how that relates to lighting? I don't know if Carl
Yeah,
wants to
Carl, do you
jump
want to
in.
say a little bit about how our grass fields and lightings works and doesn't work?
Yeah, so we currently light fields. Typically, we call them our game only fields in our regional recreational parks. We typically currently do not light our fields in our local parks or our practice game fields. Also, lighting rectangles is what I would call a double-edged sword. It kind of gives you more permittable hours or more playable time on there, but then you also see the additional wear on the fields. So that's why we currently like just lighting our game only fields where we can put more maintenance on there, and it's by permit only. Um,
Okay, thank you. I did see another note about it would be nice if the trees edge the streets more, double as a canopy cover for streets. And we do need to balance the plantings with the active recreation. Obviously, this area is very this there's limited property in this area, and this is a fairly urban area, and there's going to be redevelopment. There's communities nearby and that don't have active play spaces. So um, while it will be a balancing act, as you can see on the drawings, Kara's looking at providing ample new trees as well as preserving the older trees that are there now. And ultimately, that'll be a determination based on budgeting, operating budget, and ability to and useful space in this area. But we will definitely take that into account. Um, and as you can see, our as parks, we do like trees a lot. So.
Yes, as Andy said, just to tell you a little bit more about the trees, in both plans, there's an elm tree, which is this one, that we're working to preserve, which is why you can see there's no elements directly around that tree. And then there are a lot of new trees proposed in this park. And while it's not shown on this slide, near Piney Branch, there are a lot of canopy trees that we'll be keeping. We really understand there's not a lot of green space. So we're trying to balance the natural green space with these proposed active amenities as well. Any other thoughts? Anybody have a feeling on concept one or concept two? You can always tell us in the survey. I'm going to go ahead and just go to the last slide just so I can show you how to access that. And then if any more questions come in or if you want to see the plans, we can go back. But your voice does matter. So thanks for being here tonight. And please take the survey, share it with your friends, family. Your kids can take it. Your grandparents can take it. Everybody's voice counts. So that's certainly one way to share your thoughts with us, and your questions and comments here tonight are helpful as well. So we'll take all of that into consideration. Anybody else from our team want to chime in, add anything in your area of expertise? I know we have talked about fields. Maybe, I don't know, Michelle, if you wanted to say anything, Michelle Nelson, about the community garden, anything you're thinking there. Anything else we should mention, Andy, or ask?
Well, I think we covered a lot. I did see, one comment about liking concept one. That's I actually see another one. Is there an associated demo plan for the proposals you can share in which trees and structures are to be removed? So, being in the concept phase, there is not not being sure which concept we go to. There isn't a demo plan created. We're not that far in design. But generally speaking, if Carrie, you would go back to the view of the hardscape, pretty much the hardscape will be replaced. Just be clear, the parking lot that is there today will be completely replaced, and that'll be work being completed by the purple line. And I don't know if you, Kara, can you go up to the existing conditions one?
Sure. Got a lot of slides here. Almost there. I think it's the next one. Okay.
So in terms of structures, the plaza, the existing playground, those would be removed. The soccer field would remain in place as is with the fencing in the soccer field concept. You can see on the right that hardscape would be removed. The tree that Kara was mentioning, she's got her cursor right on it. That's the large did you say elm tree?
Mhm.
They were looking to preserve. If you look around the playground, you can see some smaller trees in that area. Likely the majority of those would need to be removed for construction. But if you look at the lower area, you can see sort of that canopy. That is all those mature trees. We would be not taking those out. There are a couple near the parking lot that may have to go out. And then up towards Piney Branch Road, the intention would be for all of those to remain. I see another question said, do you have a concept with 2 soccer fields enclosed? And there would not be space to have 2 soccer fields in this park. We unfortunately the proposal that keeps the existing soccer field. Unfortunately, given the constraints of the site and the Stream Valley buffer, we're actually not able to expand its size at all. And again, this is one of the reasons why we were looking at the soccer court, which allows more play in a smaller space. I don't know if that is what was meant by the question, or if it was a question, if there's something else. The question, but obviously grass soccer fields do take up a lot of space, and we don't have that available in this area. But I will recognize that, as Kara mentioned, this park is part of the Long Branch Initiative. So we do have 2 other projects, at Long Branch Wayne and Long Branch Local Park, which are both will have upgraded soccer fields with them. Again, they're not adult size, but they are somewhat larger than this one, and they both will have more parking available. If the question was about whether you could do 2 soccer courts on here, we don't think in order to provide a variety of amenities, we would not expect to put 2 soccer courts in this one park. That's not something we typically do. Obviously, as Kara mentioned, you can certainly put your opinion on that in the survey, and it'll be considered. But one of the things we want to point out in the 2 concepts that Kara provided, there were lots of space for different events, gathering space. There was the soccer courts, the community garden, which we've heard a lot of interest in, as well as the pathway and maintaining the existing forest. So given the constraints in the site and the desire to provide a pretty wide variety of amenities to serve a wide and diverse community, our natural instinct would not to have 2 enclosed soccer courts. But of course, please let your opinion be known. Okay. Well, I think that we've provided a lot of information. There's a lot to consider, and I really appreciate everybody's attention to this. And as just to let you know, Kara has been involved with various types of community outreach on this project, and we'll be continuing to gather ideas and through the survey and through other means as best we can. And we are expecting that this summer we'll be able to understand the community input as well as the needs of the park operations as well as our budget, and we're going to come out of that with a hybrid, probably likely a hybrid, that typically what happened, but a preferred alternate concept plan that will then post on our webpage, and that will have, once we get a good opportunity to make sure that we've considered everything, we'll move into detailed design. And that will allow us to get onto the schedule as Kara showed on her earlier slide. So if anybody has any final questions or comments, please let us know.
One thing I can just add, Andy, in terms of the outreach, we are planning to attend the Crossroads Farmers Market in June. And if anybody wants to know about that, we could email you, put your email in the survey about staying in touch. But we're trying to be present in person in the community, and we're kind of going to events that already are happening.
Yeah, and I believe, isn't there a community organizing group that you've been communicating with?
Yes, we've been working with Cheer quite a bit, and
Yeah.
that's an acronym that I never remember what it means, but they are very in touch with the neighborhood. So if any of you know people with Cheer, that they're very up to date with what we're doing as well.
And have you had any contact with the school? I know there's a school right near here. Have you
We
talked to them at
have,
all?
yes. Last night I presented an abbreviated version of this to the PTA of New Hampshire Estates Elementary, and we went to a resource fair a couple weeks ago with the parents there, and we're looking into maybe doing that at Rolling Terrace Elementary.
Okay, very
I
good.
know I got one question. Can teenagers take the survey? Absolutely. If you have any older kids, we want to hear from them too. So if you have ideas about how to reach um, other groups in the community that maybe don't come to things like this, let us know.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for participating, and we hope everyone has a wonderful night. And uh, there's a note about more details. There's a link that was just put into the meeting webinar chat. So please feel free to use that. And I hope everybody gets home safely tonight. So
Good night. Thank you,
have a good
everyone.
night. Bye.
Adios.